everyone, and welcome to our presentation on the polycarbonate and acrylic sheet solutions for health, safety, and welfare. I'll be proud to introduce our presenters. Tony has over 22 years of experience in the building and construction market and 16 years with our company Polyvantis. He's worked in the Australia, New Zealand, and Asia markets, and he's been working with us in the Americas since May of 2023. And John Tyson brings 16 years of experience in structural plastics. He's a Six Sigma Green Belt and has had 7 years working with us at Polyvantis and holds an MBA from Xavier University. Tony?
Thank you, Austin, and welcome everybody to the Polyvantis AIA presentation. A couple of formalities on the next two slides. So credits earned on completion of this course will be reported to the AIA CES for AIA members. Certificates of completion for both AIA members and non-AIA members are available upon request. The course is registered with AIA CES for continuing professional education. As such, it does not include content that may be deemed or constructed to be an approval or endorsement by the AIA of any materials of construction or any method or manner of handling, using, distributing, or dealing in any material or product. Questions related to specific materials, methods, and services will be addressed at the conclusion of the presentation. The course description. The AIA-approved continuing education course explores the latest architectural, polycarbonate and acrylic solutions that are transforming the built environment. Participants will gain an understanding of product innovations that enhance building performance, contribute to sustainable design goals, evaluate aesthetic value, and provide health and safety. The course provides an overview of key product categories, including facade and roofing systems, interior finishes, daylighting solutions, and security options, with an emphasis on their application in modern architecture. Through case studies and technical insights, architects will learn how to select and specify products that align with your product goals, meet code requirements, and deliver long-term value. The course has 4 learning objectives as defined below. At the end of this course, we hope that participants will be able to examine the key product groups, product properties, and value proposition of both acrylic and polycarbonate, demonstrate how polycarbonate and acrylic sheets capitalize on sustainability within new age demands, understand how product performance contributes to energy efficiency, durability, and health and safety. Lastly, identify application areas where polycarbonate and acrylic sheets are used in architectural applications. That is, where health, safety, and welfare objectives have been achieved. Section 1, acrylic and polycarbonate overview. As we move into the next slide, we'll get into the details of acrylic, polycarbonate, examine their properties, and also look at case studies to help identify where these materials can be used in your application. On the slide, we have the typical properties of acrylic and polycarbonate sheets. Both polycarbonate and acrylic sheet are among the most durable materials on the market today, offering hundreds of possible combinations of structure, color, coating, and finish. Whilst this presentation will look at the building and construction architectural side, polycarbonate and acrylic products can be used in a wide variety of applications, from transportation, aerospace, film and electronics. To further talk about the performance and properties, I'm going to introduce my colleague, John, who will talk on the performance and properties of both acrylic and polycarbonate. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Tony. So it's interesting on this slide, you'll see that acrylic and polycarbonate in many ways offer similar features and benefits, but also in their own ways offer additional features and benefits. And oftentimes people confuse the two and think that maybe they compete one with the other. But in fact, they kind of complement each other. Tony, what do you kind of think about that when someone might ask you that question? Do they compete with each other?
In certain areas, they definitely do compete, John, but as you pointed out, in certain areas, they complement each other, and certain materials have certain benefits or are the more appropriate material for application. If we look at things like structural integrity, polycarbonate has much better impact resistance than say acrylic. If we look at surface abrasion characteristics, you could suggest that acrylic is better than standard polycarbonates, to which we'll get into in the presentation. But good question.
So oftentimes it comes down to the end use application, and considering both acrylic and polycarbonate, it gives you just a full portfolio of see-through materials to apply to your project in the best case scenario. So like you said, on the acrylic side, in both cases, it's a glass replacement, much lighter than glass. On the polycarbonate side, you've got extremely good impact resistance, virtually unbreakable. On the acrylic side, you've got a little better scratch, chemical, and long-term durability. So it really depends on the application, and we're going to get into many more of this of the properties and features and benefits in the upcoming slides.
Thanks, John. I'll lead into the next slide for that. And to further expand on what John said, we're now going to look at the product groups for architectural design. There are a certain number of product groups for both acrylic and polycarbonate. And throughout the presentation, we're going to introduce you to case studies, both in the US and from a global perspective, to further illustrate how these product groups are used across a wide variety of architectural design. Firstly, let's look at polycarbonate. Very broadly speaking, we're going to examine UV-coated sheet. That might be for outdoor applications like pergolas or like shopping centre malls. We're going to look at hard-coated polycarbonate sheet, which is used extensively within hospitals and the prison system. We're going to look at sign-grade sheet. Sign-grade sheet you might be more familiar with outdoor signage, whether it be McDonald's signage or Toyota signage. That is where polycarbonate and sign-grade sheet come in hand. We will also look at multi-wall sheet and both corrugated sheet from a residential and commercial construction timepiece, whether that's a cover over a swimming pool, a pergola in your backyard. We'll examine both of those products in further detail. We will also look at multi-wall building systems for facades. We'll look at security and safety glazing. As mentioned, that touches very broadly on applications like healthcare, hospitals, and schools. We'll look at flame retardant polycarbonates. That is where higher flame requirements are needed for certain building codes. We'll then look at a new advancement in the wall protection market where polycarbonate is now used as a wall protection material. On the acrylic side, we will look at UV blocking sheet and the opportunities that it has for architects and designers. We'll also look at hard-coated acrylic sheet, similar than polycarbonate. It just doesn't have the same impact resistance as polycarbonate. We'll look at sign grade sheet, very similar applications to what I mentioned on the polycarbonate side. In the way of multi-wall and corrugated sheet for acrylic, we'll examine those type of applications with particular reference on residential and commercial applications. Moving on, we'll also look at some more interior applications like lighting diffusing acrylic. We will look at heat stopping acrylic sheet, high recycled content sheet, which is a growing market for manufacturers of acrylic and both polycarbonate to meet stringent sustainability goals. We'll examine sound reducing barriers and systems. We'll also look at some very exciting and architecturally pleasing materials in the way of blocks and rods and tubes, and that'll be towards the very end of the presentation. As we move into the next slide, to best depict how acrylic and polycarbonate sheet are used in advancing sustainable architecture, we've highlighted an iconic arena application in the Netherlands, which was actually installed in 1995. So if my math serves me correctly, that's 30 years out in the field, which still demonstrates good structural integrity, good retention of colour, and there has been no replacement needed. So roofing with polycarbonate multi-wall sheet, in this instance, it's a 16mm sheet, offering both long warranties, durability, long-standing performance, and UV and weathering is demonstrated in this application. So why is this important? Because of the use of plastic sheets, particularly polycarbonate and acrylic in construction, it really does support the global shift towards sustainable building materials. The materials promote energy efficiency, a better living and working conditions, and a commitment to recycling, aligning with the growing demand for eco-conscious design. Polycarbonate and acrylic solutions really do empower architects, builders, and contractors to create innovative, sustainable structures whilst meeting evolving regulatory standards. We're going to look at more applications in a lot more detail throughout the presentation to really help cement the sustainability narrative that both polycarbonate and acrylic bring to the building and construction segment. On to the next slide. Another application, this time in Austria, a soccer stadium in Austria, which provides 1,100 square meters of transparent roofing material, again, made of multi-wall polycarbonate sheet. Interestingly, these sheet lengths were up to 18.5 meters in length, which is a very long length coupled with a very long width. And in order for the architects and designers to use this application, manufacturers can offer computer-aided engineering, which is also required to address some of the stringent wind and snow levels. So throughout the presentation, we will examine more architectural applications, especially in the way of overhead and vertical glazing, skylights and facades, conservatories and greenhouses, verandas and pergolas. In the polycarbonate sense, we're going to look at data centers and how polycarbonate has an increasing role within data center construction, security glazing, as touched on, hospitals and healthcare facilities, security windows, which furthers on to the previous point. We're going to look at stadiums, as depicted in this picture. We're also going to examine how polycarbonate is now used in today's modern design from a wall protection perspective. On the acrylic side, John is going to lead us into applications on aquariums and pools, sculptures and architectural applications. We're also going to look at petitions, balcony and rail inserts, patios and deck covers, and a very interesting and exciting application area is sound stopping barriers. So let's move on to the next slide for a case example of a polycarbonate building facade system. This application highlights many of the value propositions that are inherent in polycarbonate. The product you see in front of you was installed in Melbourne, Australia, and designed by one of Australia and New Zealand's largest architectural companies, a company called Cox Architects. So this picture depicts the use of polycarbonate as a facade and also as a daylighting material. Polycarbonate facades with its unique tongue groove design and rigid X structure are the perfect material for polycarbonate facades to be incorporated into the design of a building, as you see in the picture in front of you. This product also encompasses a unique 5-wall X structure, which gives it supreme rigidity and excellent insulation values. It has a UV protected outer surface for long lifespan and durability. It has great light transmission and light diffusing properties. It's available in a variety of colors, which we will show you throughout the presentation. Excellent thermal and insulation values. Again, being polycarbonate, it is inherent with high impact strength. Polycarbonate offers a 10-year warranty. A big point of interest for engineers and also construction companies is its easy and fast installation. Wide variety of colours and aesthetic features I have mentioned. The product also comes compliant with Class A E84 as standard. Excellent solar values, and again, 100% recyclable. So very important from that sustainability standpiece. As we move on to the next slide, John is going to introduce you to some architectural applications where acrylic has been the selected material, and over to you, John.
Tony, yeah, this project was in Bainbridge Island, Washington, and it's just an amazing feature that they created for this environment using an acrylic with a deep corrugated structure. It gives it really, really good rigidity. Also, you've got, again, just the lightweight versus glass, great clarity and long-term UV protection, lasting structural integrity, withstands environmental stresses while attaining its original form, and it just created an amazing, comfortable environment for this project. Full views, the light, visibility, and the structural and long-term durability of the project made it just ideal for an acrylic application.
And I guess, John, because it is acrylic, am I correct to assume it does come with a long lifespan, because acrylic is very good from a weathering perspective? Would that be correct to assume?
Absolutely. When you see just the size and scope of this project and the exposure to sunlight, acrylic was, again, another nice benefit. Thanks, Tony. But because of the long-term durability and the clarity that it will retain over time, in some cases up to 30 years.
Interesting. And again, what I also like is it's a residential application, so not just a commercial building. So it shows both previous slide commercial applications and industrial, and we touch now on the commercial side, the residential side.
Yeah, I wish that was my backyard.
The same. So, John, let's move into section 2 and look at a polycarbonate and acrylic sheet and how that contributes to health, safety, and welfare. And I'll pass it over to you for the incoming slides.
Yeah, thanks again. So again, transitioning to health and safety, to keep noise exposure levels as low as possible, we have there are a variety of products used in roadway and barrier applications. And what, with its outstanding airborne sound insulation properties, the products that can be utilized, specially designed in a variety of thicknesses for these types of highway barrier and walkway barrier applications, have been specifically developed to use in those applications. We'll learn more about this momentarily.
Well, let's move over onto the next slide and see what these health and safety benefits are.
Yeah, so really on the acrylic side of it, the impact resistance and safety glazing, acrylic offers your high impact strength compared to glass, shatter resistance, and helps reduce injury risk and enhance safety in public and high traffic spaces. Low emissions, even above softening temperatures or in case of fire, acrylic does not emit acutely toxic or carcinogenic fumes. Does not include adhesives, paints, or lacquers in the material itself that may vaporize and be harmful to the environment. And again, like in the last slide, we talked about inherent UV stability. Acrylic resists yellowing, brittleness, and strength loss, which enables decades, and like I said, in many cases, up to 30 years outdoor durability. It's also easy to clean. It's hygienic. A smooth, non-porous surface resists accumulation of mold and bacteria. Cleans easily with just mild, non-abrasive products. We're actually going to get to that at the end of the presentation as well. So in terms of health and safety, just a lot of nice benefits with the acrylic sheet side.
I think, John, it's probably important to note, at the start of the presentation, I mentioned that polycarbonate has much better impact resistance than standard acrylic. But what the previous picture depicted and later in the presentation is that there are certain types of acrylic that have much more superior impact resistance to acrylic. Is that correct?
Yes, there's also some impact modified acrylic, which enhances the impact modification even further. So standard acrylic, roughly 15 to 20 times stronger than glass. There's an impact modified version that gives it more impact resistance. Still nothing like a polycarbonate. But again, it's a nice medium between the two, and you get about 50, 60 times stronger than glass with the impact modified acrylic.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll move over to the next slide then, onto the health and safety aspects of polycarbonate sheet. Similar titles than the previous slide. Polycarbonate sheets have excellent impact resistance and are an excellent material of choice for safety glazing. Polycarbonate offers near unbreakable strength, shielding from impact, vandalism, and harsh weather. That also helps minimize injury risk and enhancing the safety in vulnerable areas. We mentioned healthcare and we mentioned prison. Two areas certainly depict that. Fire safety. A lot of polycarbonates come standard with either UL 94V0 or ASTM E84. There are a variety of other standards, be it safety or other, that information is available on request from manufacturers. Polycarbonate has excellent UV protection and natural daylighting. UV stabilized polycarbonate sheets actually block up to 99.9% of harmful ultraviolet rays, protecting the building and also the occupants, even the furniture, etc., from prolonged exposure and degradation. Thermal performance, we touched on with the application you saw in Melbourne, multi-wall and solid polycarbonate sheet offer excellent thermal insulation. Multi-wall, as the word depicts, is actually a multi-layer polycarbonate that has an air gap in between each layer. So that air gap is excellent from a thermal performance perspective and also an acoustic performance perspective. As John mentioned on acrylic, polycarbonate is actually a very hygienic material and easy to clean. Both non-porous material and has smooth surface, resists bacterial growth and is very easy to clean. Certain polycarbonate wall protections actually come with antimicrobial technology, which we'll get in throughout the presentation. Move over to the next slide, where we look at hard-coated polycarbonate sheet from a health, safety, and security benefit. So what is hard-coated polycarbonate sheet compared to standard polycarbonate sheet? To the naked eye, very hard to tell the difference, if able to tell the difference at all. So hard-coated polycarbonate sheet delivers the same material properties as standard polycarbonate, yet it has the added feature of a glass-like coating that's applied to the surface of the sheet. So this technology actually ensures significantly improved mar resistance, chemical resistance, coupled with graffiti resistance underneath the chemical barrier. And depending on the coating, it offers extended UV resistance as well. So very broadly speaking, hard-coated polycarbonate delivers those three major properties. That's a mar resistance, a chemical/graffiti resistance, and an extended UV resistance. Summarized in 6 potential benefits here on the screen. It also delivers safety and security, so an excellent material of choice for hospitals and prisons where impact strength and durability is required, and also resistance to common cleaners and graffiti, or also marring from inmates in a prison, etc. Lightweight and easy to install, so very important for general contractors and subcontractors alike. Abrasion resistance, it has excellent mar resistance for the sheet. Chemical resistance, so the glass-like coating that is applied to the sheet delivers superior chemical resistance than many other thermoplastic materials that do not have that coating. Very easy to clean, we'll get into that later into the presentation, and it has excellent optical clarity. Moving on to the next slide, we further explore the benefits of hard-coated polycarbonate sheet. From an architectural perspective, it is very important for the audience today to really identify why hard-coated polycarbonate sheet is of use for your application. Certain polycarbonates are perfect for certain applications, but hard-coated polycarbonate sheets are really more important for those high-end, high lifespan required applications. And I really want the audience to ensure they have a solid understanding of hard-coated polycarbonate sheets. So to further expand on the last slide, again, hard-coated polycarbonate sheet has excellent performance and durability. It's low maintenance and easy to restore. Again, the glass-like coating that is applied to the sheet enables that. It has excellent weather and security resistance. It's designed for demanding spaces. A demanding space might be a mental health hospital, a prison, a children's correctional facility, etc. The smart coating advantages, as I mentioned to you before, if I could summarize that succinctly in 3 major blocks, that would be the mar resistance, the chemical/graffiti resistance, and also the extended UV resistance for certain coatings. And it has trusted compliance certifications, whether that's to ASTM, Miami-Dade, UL, New York Office of Mental Health, and all that information is available upon request. We'll move over to the next slide where John is going to look at the hard-coated acrylic sheet from a health and safety perspective. And over to you, John.
Yeah, Tony, it's interesting. All the features and benefits you mentioned on the polycarbonate side are very similar on the acrylic side. When I mentioned the impact modification of acrylic, that's a change in the polymer chemistry to add impact resistance to standard acrylic. When you talk about hard-coated polycarbonate and acrylic sheet, that's a secondary process where this hard coat is applied. And just like on the polycarbonate side, it's extremely clear coating that's added that adds, again, all the features you just mentioned, the chemical resistance, the scratch resistance, extremely good clarity. So again, if you're designing something in more public spaces where there may be exposure to scratches or just interaction with the public, mar resistant is ideal for those types of situations. Again, for long-lasting clarity, smooth, scratch-resistant surface. And again, on this slide, you see in the bottom right, the Tabor abrasion results of standard acrylic versus coated acrylic. It's not a subtle change in that scratch resistance. It's significantly more scratch resistant, both on the acrylic and the polycarbonate side, Tony.
Yeah, good point. I failed to mention that on the previous slide. So, and the important part about that is it's backed up by an ASTM standard as well. So it is external validation on the benefit that these hard-coated materials can provide.
Absolutely.
Moving over to the next slide and changing tact slightly, I mentioned before some advancements in the wall protection market where polycarbonate has provided solutions to some existing issues within the wall protection space. So due to its unmatched durability, impact resistance, and environmental benefits, as we've spoken about on different applications, those recycle benefits, those sustainable benefits, I should say, be it 100% recyclable, long life cycle, and also PVC free, polycarbonate wall protection is actually a revolutionary and increasingly popular choice for modern construction from a wall protection perspective. The wall protection market today is very much dominated by FRP or PVC, or what they call a PVC free material, which often is a PETG material. And the value proposition that a polycarbonate wall protection be is depicted in the potential benefits below. Again, environment. It is the very similar value proposition from an environmental/sustainability perspective that we have spoken about for other applications. I'll reiterate again, 100% recyclable, PVC free, non-chlorinated, non-brominated, and a long life cycle/durability. This material can come with an antibacterial additive as standard, great fire and smoke performance with Class A rating as standard. Like all polycarbonates, easy to clean and disinfect. There are cleaning guidelines which are available upon request. Polycarbonate in general and polycarbonate wall protection is great from a digital printing perspective. Polycarbonate is used extensively within the electronics world. Driver's licenses, passports, etc. all use polycarbonate to a degree. And why am I saying that is because it's great from a printing perspective, and it's no different here in the wall protection market. Excellent high impact strength and durability. Excellent resistance to common chemicals. Important again for contractors and installers, no different than the facade or roofing material. Polycarbonate is very easy to install, to bend, to thermoform. It is a very user-friendly from a installation perspective. Again, the sustainability narrative of being a friendly material. Polycarbonate wall protection actually has external validation in terms of a friendly material product. Another interesting case study to sort of demonstrate the versatility of polycarbonate is a curved roofing shopping centre in France, of all places. So the polycarbonate sheet, as you see here in a controlled blue colour, offers a 10-year limited warranty. One thing I particularly like about this application is the long spans in the terms of the product length, but also the long spans in the product's width, which needed to conform to stringent wind loads and also snow loads for this application to meet the building code and architectural design requirements. Polycarbonate is actually 200 times the impact strength of glass, and putting a slight bend in the sheet, which is typically performed by a thermoformed method/heat, is 200 times the strength of glass. The polycarbonate here design also illustrates the design flexibility and safety. And polycarbonate, as I mentioned before, from a signage perspective, can just be thermoformed into a two-dimensional shape, but a three-dimensional shape. The picture here depicts a two-dimensional shape, but three-dimensional shapes are also not an issue with polycarbonate. Again, highlighting the design flexibility and versatility. One more point here was the light transmission and solar values that needed to be adhered to by both the building code and the architect. The material here was able to meet both of them. It is a custom material, but what it also demonstrates is that material flexibility in the way of colours can be achieved to meet the requirements of certain and respective building codes.
Tony, I have a question popped up. This is an impressive structure. And in many of the case studies we're going to go through, the acrylic and the polycarbonate offer structural integrity and benefits, but also very visually appealing. And you mentioned a blue tint. I always think of acrylic and polycarbonate as clear, but is it common to have tints? Is it easy to get tints in polycarbonate?
Look, yeah, polycarbonate can be manufactured in a variety of colours. It can be matched to Pantone colours. There is a caveat. There is often minimums that a manufacturer will require to manufacture a specific colour. Most colours are transparent. They're clears, they're greys, bronzes, greens, etc. But yes, John, it is depending on what an architect requires. Manufacturers can offer custom colours, as you see depicted here in this application in France.
Yeah, colors, sheet sizes. It's really not just a standard 4x8 clear. You can really get creative with both polycarbonate and acrylic with the manufacturers. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, good point about the sheet size too. As polycarbonate is an extruded product, effectively the material can come up to any any length within reason from a transportation perspective that is required. So you mentioned, 4x8 is a standard sheet here in the US, but yes, longer lengths are available upon request.
Yeah, nice. Good to know. So the next slide, we're going to transition from a shopping mall to our noise barrier applications in North America. You see some nice images of projects of walkway barriers, excuse me, and highway barriers. So again, visually appealing, but also a lot of additional benefits, structural benefits. So noise barriers have been part of our transportation culture for almost 60 years. The very first noise barriers were installed in the US in 1963 and became more prominent following the introduction of the Noise Control Act of 1972. Since then, over 200 million square feet of both absorptive and transparent noise barriers have been installed throughout North America. Today, we're going to talk about how transparent noise barriers can be utilized in a variety of applications. The first transparent acrylic noise barrier was installed in California in 1993. And the need for visual preservation has been forever increasing. And it's not just noise barriers. We're now beginning to see other applications such as pedestrian walkways and transparent acrylic wind barriers for bridges emerging over the past 5 to 10 years as well. So we refer to it as noise barriers, but you'll see in the coming slides, there's really a lot more to it, a lot of features and benefits. So the next slide, compared to traditional wood or concrete noise barriers, transparent acrylic noise barriers can provide an extremely positive impact on residents in the communities. In areas where scenic views are an important part of everyday life, a transparent wall helps maintain these views and preserve natural daylight compared to an opaque noise wall. In the case where tall barrier walls may be required, transparent acrylic walls can minimize shadowing and visual obstruction. This helps avoid segmentation of neighborhoods, thus ensuring everyone still feels connected to each other. Pedestrian walkways and bike paths are good examples of this, and the images above again depict really nice examples. Let's also think about how business owners might be affected. Anytime there is roadway construction, there's an increase in highway capacity and traffic. That means it's very likely a noise barrier might be needed. Increased highway capacity means more visibility for nearby businesses, but putting up thick, tall, opaque walls, the visibility is basically reduced to zero. A transparent wall will ensure street level visibility for business owners for years to come. So in the next slide, we get a little bit more into the technical aspects of it. So I want to talk about the applications for protection as well as noise and visually appealing. The MASH TL4 crash test we have systems that comply with this as well. So you'll see the video or the image above of the truck impacting the wall. There's actually a requirement for vehicle impact for the roadway sections of the bridges for noise barriers and protection. A few definitions should be understood before we get going too much further. MASH, MASH refers to the Manual for Assessing Safety Hardware, while AIA-HTO is the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, which is kind of a conglomeration of groups for consistency and uniformity. So this group who sets up federal safety standards, the system offers a safe, lightweight, transparent option which meets federal AIA-HTO safety guidelines, the crash test system. So it was developed to be used when a noise barrier is placed in or adjacent to the clear recovery zone of a roadway. The zone is defined as the area of the roadway that allows the driver to stop safely or regain control of a vehicle that has left the roadway. So by constructing a safety barrier in that area, agencies can increase the likelihood that a roadway departure results in a safe recovery rather than a crash, or to mitigate the severity of crashes that do occur. When noise barrier is required in the clear zone as well, it must be designed to protect the zone of intrusion. The zone of intrusion is defined as a 3 to 4 foot region above and behind the traffic side of a roadside barrier where an impacting vehicle or any major part of the barrier system may extend during a collision. The MASH TL-4 noise barrier is designed to prevent vehicles from striking these hazards, ensuring the zone of intrusion is kept clear. In the case of a bridge, the barrier prevents vehicles from going over the bridge, over the barrier as well. The great thing about this system is that it comes pre-assembled as a drop-in frame style system that fits between most wide flange structural steel posts. This makes installation costs low and simplifies them, and construction fairly simple. And it meets Made in America requirements and is eligible for federal funding for the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill of 2021. On to the next slide. Again, a transparent acrylic barrier also comes with tremendous safety and performance benefits we kind of touched on. If located near a highway, on-ramp, or off-ramp, a transparent wall will improve driver visibility of merging or incoming traffic. For densely populated areas, a transparent noise barrier can reduce the tunnel effect, the traditional opaque wood or concrete barriers that make you feel. This helps promote driver attentiveness and comfort, can also enhance sight lines and complex roadway layouts, which thus reduces blind spots. When it comes to passenger and vehicle safety, federally approved crash-tested systems are sometimes required to meet roadway safety requirements. A transparent system has significantly less dead load compared to traditional concrete or absorptive systems. A typical concrete noise panel weighs about 80 pounds per square foot, while a typical absorptive panel weighs about 45 pounds per square foot. Compare this to an acrylic panel weighing only 5 pounds per square foot. It is clear that a transparent panel is ideal for bridges and other elevated applications. And there are a wide variety of engineering solutions where impact and crash-related requirements are needed. If you look at the image above, it's a nice transition with a beautiful background and scenery where you have a traditional opaque wall. In this case, they transition to a clear system. And basically, if you look at that image, which would you rather see if you're in this environment? I think it's obvious the clear noise barrier is the much better choice.
Yeah, I agree, John. And that clear noise barrier, whilst also ensuring safety to the participants of the road or anybody that's off the road, really gives that aesthetic finish that the concrete or the brick on the side, on the left-hand side, doesn't enable. Assuming that's a castle in the background, it really, it distorts, affects the image. So it has aesthetic values, and as you said, the health and safety and welfare side of it is also really important. So, yeah, and a very nice slide.
Significant. Yeah, definitely. All right, Tony, I think we're back to you on the next slide.
We are. So we're going to look at the welfare side of polycarbonate and both acrylic and how polycarbonate and acrylic can both contribute to occupant welfare. And how do they do that? They do that by enhancing the comfort, daylight, and access and the energy efficient properties of polycarbonate. And both acrylic, I should say. So the unique properties support wellness focused on design within modern architectural applications. So to highlight this point, we're going to look at an application here that was designed by an Italian architect made with polycarbonate solid sheet in a standard transparent color. So this unique outdoor structure designed by the architect that used to work extensively in mountain chalets and restaurants, etc., is an elegant outdoor application enclosure that helps utilize the space year-round. Not only is it aesthetic, it's a glazing option for an outdoor space that had to meet the challenging conditions of the environment, be it both a wind perspective and a snow load perspective. A few of the properties at a high level that this application enabled were enhanced daylighting performance. Polycarbonate has great light transmission. It also has diffused, controlled diffusion, which supports bright, evenly lit spaces. Back onto the welfare narrative, that also improves comfort, visibility, and occupant well-being. Polycarbonate has great thermal performance. You can add IR additives to certain polycarbonates for certain heat reduction / heat gain losses. You can also play around with the color of polycarbonate as was depicted in the shopping mall of France, and that can also have an impact, or does have an impact, on solar values, whether it's solar heat gain coefficient, etc. Changing the tint or the light transmission of polycarbonate can also have a significant benefit from a welfare perspective. To further expand on the welfare perspective, we're going to look at this very nice architectural application, again in France. So what we see here in front of us is polycarbonate sheet in, again, a clear, transparent color. The wide range of polycarbonate glazing materials provided this architect with broad design and flexibility for both inside and outside of the application. You'll note this roof is extremely high, which means it has a high susceptibility to wind load. It's also in France, so there are snow loading implications. Again, manufacturers can offer engineering and computer aided engineering to help assist architects and designers meet sort of stringent building code requirements. Multi-wall polycarbonate sheet portfolios provide an outstanding balance of both lightweight, high impact strength and stiffness, also excellent thermal insulation, UV and flame resistance, and long-term light resistance and weathering for such applications. Polycarbonate, be it virtually unbreakable, is low maintenance and economical, and it offers an attractive solution for industrial and commercial applications that you see in front of me, as well as some of the residential applications that we've touched on already. Polycarbonate is known, again, for its lightweight, ease of installation, energy efficiency, and is a material which is depicted in all of the case studies available for a wide range of building products and building applications. Moving on to the next slide, data centers. Data center construction, both in the US and globally, is booming. Projections have this market tripling within the next 7 to 10 years. So polycarbonate sheet products play an increasingly important role in modern data center construction. From aisle containment, as you see here depicted in this picture at the top of the server area, actually some of the server doors can be made in polycarbonate. The internal server racks can also be polycarbonate. Polycarbonate panels, be it lightweight, durable, cost-effective, and also fire compliant, are an extremely valuable solution within modern data center construction. Polycarbonate and also acrylic now for application areas within data centers like lighting diffusers, wall protection and doors, also play a paramount role in modern data center construction. A few of the other product benefits that we've touched on extensively, such as recyclability, fire compliance, hygienic properties, assisting in the reduction of energy, both from a material lightweight perspective, transportation cost and installation cost are also paramount. Again, the other thing that polycarbonate and also acrylic promote is the durability, promoting that environmental sustainability narrative as well. From data center construction, John now is going to talk about some acrylic that's used for overhead lighting applications.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. The image here depicts a project for a design center in New York. And what they wanted to do was have the look and feel of almost as if you were walking into a light box. They want a nice uniform light diffusing. So you see they incorporated even the fixtures inside of the studio with the acrylic lighting panels up above. So it was important to have a lot of light and few shadows. And it came out just really, really well how they designed it, and the benefits of, in this case, a frosted acrylic that provides that nice, even illumination of that space.
And John, it's almost like wall protection and a structured panel in one that this product is bringing, correct?
Yeah, very much so. And again, if you go back to the benefits we've talked earlier, the light, it's lightweight, it minimizes the structural load, low VOC and non-toxic, all those things as well. And we're created just the perfect environment, and it just nailed it for this designer and this showroom that they put together.
Very nice.
So the next slide depicts a hospital wall application, and this is utilizing some thick acrylic block where they did a lot of fabrication to create a very, very, very visually appealing wall cladding structure in this hospital. The shell shapes are milled out of the clear block. There's some white acrylic incorporated as well. The big benefits of this were, again, lightweight, easy to fabricate. The acrylic enables precise cutting, layering, and installation for complex custom features. And again, it's going to be durable and long lasting, maintains clarity and surface integrity over time, even in demanding environments. Visually seamless appearance, allows for large uninterrupted design elements with clean edges and smooth transitions. Again, so this was kind of an interactive hospital wall application.
Yeah, very, very nice.
Yep. The next slide, we transition more to some of the acrylic tube options that are available. So you have, again, clear acrylic tube. You can also have light diffusing frosted tube, and this is a museum in New York City where the designer incorporated a lot of visually appealing effects with the tubes and the lighting effects combined with LEDs. These tubes distribute light and create dimensions in the museum's Keeping History Center. So again, these were frosted tubes. They're extremely energy efficient, especially combined with the LEDs, as we know, producing greater luminous intensity from the same power or delivering the same luminosity at lower energy costs compared to alternative materials. And the frosted surface also hides fingerprints. It's not only frosted, the frosted effect is throughout the acrylic, and it also incorporates a subtle texture on the surface, which helps hide fingerprints and subtle scratches that you might run into, which extends the life and reduces maintenance. An important feature given that their use is in a public space. So really nice application for a frosted textured acrylic in this history center.
John, can tubes or would tubes be the same material when I'm traveling in a hotel and I'm getting my cereal out of the container? Is this the same sort of material, which might help the audience understand it a little bit better, or is it the same, similar?
That's a good question. It is similar. It's the polymethyl methacrylate acrylic tubes. In this case, they're designed specifically for lighting and light diffusing. But acrylic, another large market for acrylic is in retail displays and fixtures and dispensers and those types of things that you mentioned. So yeah, it's used in a lot of applications above and beyond architectural applications. Yeah, good question. So the next slide is an interesting application of acrylic in a car wash application in the ceiling. So again, this is the Blue Sky Car Wash in Ohio, and what that ceiling does: lightweight, great sunlight and visibility. They create a really nice environment for a car wash, quite honestly. So it's got nice, soft, natural light coming in. This is a multi-skin acrylic product as well, which provides energy-saving capabilities that can reduce costs up to 40%. So instead of a closed-in dark cement block kind of feel and look to this structure in this car wash, the building lets in a lot of natural light, provides thermal benefits from the multi-wall product. We have windows on all sides and a partly transparent roof that you can see the sky through. So really nice application there for some acrylic structural products. Now we're going to move into another museum setting for what's called acrylic block. This is a thick cast block, specifically designed for high structural integrity applications. So here you see an aquarium application in a zoo in Vienna, of all places. So really stunning, visually appealing. The block in this case, it's a monolithic thick sheet. It provides undistorted views, and again comes with a 10-year light transmission warranty and a 30-year non-yellowing warranty. It can be manufactured in very large sheet sizes so that you can create these large structures. It's also oftentimes used in swimming pool applications where sometimes they'll have one edge, a clear edge, waterfall feature in a pool. More than 1,000 fish live in this aquarium, hidden in the countless caverns and hollows of the artificial reef. They're only separated from the amazed visitors by 160 millimeter thick panel of acrylic made of 9 block panels, the largest measuring 10 meters wide and almost 3 meters high, weighing 7,000 kilograms. So that's really, really a stunning application for acrylic.
John, can acrylic also be used, drawing on that aqua narrative, as submarines or even within aircraft because of the pressure that it can withstand? Would that be correct?
Yes, we have products that are certified to pressure vessel human occupancy standards that are used in depressurizing chambers for scuba divers. We also have acrylic block that can be shaped and formed into some submersible vessels, deep diving submarines that give you it's quite impressive, a full almost 360 view in these submarines, in these small personal submarines that go quite deep. It's really impressive. So yeah, it's a very, very strong, structural, clear, just crystal clear product that creates this amazing effect.
Obviously very versatile. I like it.
Yeah. So transitioning to the last, one of the last slides here on the acrylic side, to kind of sum up, we mentioned in the beginning one of the benefits is it's got some chemical resistance, some scratch resistance. It's easy to clean. You cannot use household standard cleaners like Windex that actually will immediately damage the product, but it's very, very easy to clean with a dishwashing liquid and a clean, damp microfiber cloth. Apply light pressure, rinse with clear water, and blot it dry. It's really, really easy. And now if you move up to the hard-coated version, that opens it up to any kind, standard cleaning products you can use on the hard-coated, because you add that additional scratch resistance and chemical resistance. But again, never use window sprays, kitchen scouring compounds, or solvents on standard uncoated acrylic. And Tony, over to you on the polycarbonate side.
Yeah, very similar to acrylic, John, in the way that the rule of thumb for cleaning polycarbonate sheet, and similar to acrylic, is depicted in point 1. So gently wash the sheet with a warm solution of mild soap, lukewarm water, with a soft cloth. Effectively, rule of thumb, that is the go-to procedure for polycarbonate. You want to minimize as much rubbing or as much chemicals as possible. You can remove paint, splashes, and grease quite easily. There are chemicals or solvents that we recommend, and all that information is available upon request. Point number 3, scratches and minor abrasions can be minimized by using a small automobile polish. Care must be taken in doing that, and we do recommend testing a sample piece before that takes place. And then with any cleaning, you need to finally and thoroughly rinse the application. The cleaning procedures for large areas are similar. A high pressure water cleaner can be used. Again, similar to the rubbing analogy, you want to minimize the use of water pressure or rubbing as much as possible. There are also cleaning instructions for hard-coated polycarbonate sheet, which are similar to what you see here in front. But if you remember, hard-coated polycarbonate sheet has the added benefit of superior chemical resistance, so additional cleaners can be used. And all that information is available upon request. The last section, section 3, is acrylic and polycarbonate sheet and how that ties into a sustainability and compliance perspective. We have touched on that extensively. However, the coming slides will summarize that value proposition succinctly. Sustainability and conserving energy are as paramount today, and even more so paramount into the future with regards to modern construction. Depicted here in the slide and summarized in the points below, how does polycarbonate and acrylic contribute to sustainability? To speak on the narratives that we have already touched on extensively, it is through daylight and insulation. Polycarbonate and acrylic sheet provide an abundance of natural daylight and also UV protection. Polycarbonates and acrylics come with a smart heat control that can be determined by the tint, by the color, or by adding an IR additive to the sheet. The lightweight advantage of polycarbonate and acrylic is also very important. That has benefits from an installation perspective, a transportation perspective, and a manufacturing perspective. And then the low energy manufacturing, as I touched on before there, the lightweight, the fact that it's an extrusion process uses significantly less energy than other thermoplastics and glass. To summarize this again, with regards to polycarbonate and sustainability, we look at long lifespan, which we have spoken about in many different applications. The resistance to impact, weathering, and UV is extremely paramount to remember that from a sustainability perspective. Polycarbonate, again, to reiterate, is a lightweight material, very strong, lightweight, has many sustainable benefits. The energy efficiency, as we have talked about in the case study, is also a property that delivers a strong value proposition from a sustainability perspective. Recyclability is extremely important. Polycarbonate, unlike many other polymers, is 100% recyclable. Being 100% polycarbonate, it is very easy to break the material down and bring it back to a natural or a near-like natural state, which also results then in a lower carbon footprint with the longer life cycle. Our final case study of the presentation is something a little different from the external applications that we've seen with polycarbonate, and we are summarising the product benefits and value proposition with this internal application as demonstrated here at the Ocean Explorium at the New Bedford Seaport. So why did the architect choose blue in this application? The application uses a polycarbonate sheet system, which is lightweight, durable, and 100% recyclable. Again, the same narratives that we spoke on the previous slides. The material needed to be compliant with Class A E84, and it needed to significantly reduce the installation and time costs, and it also had structural and acoustic characteristics, given that there was a lot of noise inside of the building that they did not want to transmit into the outside of the building. So looking at this, the aesthetics, the backlighting of the sheet was extremely important. The original plans were for the material to be printed on. Again, polycarbonate is great from a digital print perspective. You can see there that there's some long and wide spans of the material. So the high loading and high rigidity and structural rigidity of the sheet was also important for this application. I touched on the sound and insulating values, which is important for the architects. And a final comment with regards to sustainability. 100% recyclable, a long lifespan, durable and lightweight, meaning a reduction in glazing materials, a reduction in transport, and a reduction in time to install the application.
Tony, this is just another stunning application of polycarbonate, and again, another colored product. Did you say was it printed or was it a colored polycarbonate in this case? Do you know?
It was meant to be printed, John. They didn't go that way, but polycarbonate and a polycarbonate used for a facade can be printed. So you could actually digitally print the name of the building on there, or you could put some wayfaring signage on there as well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you've got a seamless transition between the panels, and I think you mentioned also lightweight because it's a large structure. If you look at the table and the chairs in front of it, pretty impressive.
Exactly. It is. It's lightweight, and the structure is on the internal component of the building, so it's not visible. It's not visible on the outside, so it gives that slick, seamless finish to the occupant on the outside.
Yeah, very nice. So now we're going to switch back to acrylic and sustainability. Acrylic sheet contributes to sustainability through its long-lasting durability. Again, inherent UV stability, recyclability, and environmentally responsible production. A couple key contributors to this, again, long service life, depending on the application. Various durable grades maintain clarity, resist yellowing for decades, reducing replacement needs, and conserving resources. Recyclability, acrylic is 100% recyclable. It can be chemically broken down into its original MMA monomer. It can also be mechanically recycled into pellets and into new products as well. So you don't have to always break it down to its chemical components. You can actually grind it into resin size and incorporate it with additional acrylic production. free of substances of very high concern per REACH guidelines. It's energy efficient. Acrylic's excellent light transmission and low UV values help to reduce the reliance on artificial lighting. Low environmental impact in production. Production emissions and wastewater are treated and minimized. Scrap is reused as a regular best practice, honestly. Non-hazardous waste. Acrylic is not classified as hazardous or special waste, simplifying end-of-life disposal, and supports low-carbon, high-performance design. Lightweight composition and long service life reduce embodied carbon in both transportation and structural systems, helping projects meet sustainability goals and certifications. So on the next slide, we talk about high recycled content. There are products in the market that have, again, recycled content, or you can also get a product with a very, very high recycled content. 90 to 95% of some clear and white sheets can utilize recycled MMA. Architectural grade performance offers the same strength, exceptional clarity, and UV stability as 100% virgin material. It contributes to LEED and green building goals by supporting materials and resources credits through recycled content and regional manufacturing. Safe and inert, we mentioned, no VOCs, plasticizers, or hazardous additives, does not off-gas, and it's safe in sensitive environments, and low carbon footprint. Recycled content and domestic production contribute to reduced embodied carbon and shorter supply chains.
Thank you, John. So to the audience out there, that brings us to the end of the AIA education and training module for polycarbonate and acrylic from a health, safety and welfare perspective. This slide and the coming slide depict the 10 multiple choice questions that we asked the audience to take. That summarizes a lot of the key learnings throughout the presentation. So we will pause on each slide for a few seconds that you can quickly review the questions. And then we ask that you take those questions in your own time. And once we've looked at those questions, the coming slide will provide details of how to submit those answers. So if you see on the slide here, you will note that the answers can be emailed to myself with the contact details at the very end of the presentation. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to call me with a number on the screen. Myself and John, thank you for your time and participation. Over to you, Austin.
Thank you, everyone, for your attention. This has been our presentation on polycarbonate and acrylic sheet solutions for health, safety, and welfare. We really appreciate our presenters, Tony Bragg and John Tyson, for their time. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out, and we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much.